I hope that you are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today for our first book of March. And if you watched what I'm reading in March, you will know that for each book I chose, I also selected a project card. So for each book I read, I have a project that I will work on, either before, during, or after I read the book. And with our book today, Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb, the card that I chose was to make a snack or meal based on the book. And I did do that. We'll talk about the book and then we'll talk about the meal. Seven Faceless Saints is a YA fantasy, where the plot is driven by a mystery that they're trying to solve. So it's like a murder mystery within a fantasy. The world of this story is quite interesting. The story takes place in Umbrazia, a country very similar to Italy in our world. The magic system is based on the saints of the title, and they are patience, cunning, grace, mercy, death, and chaos. Umbrazia is divided into 6 sections, each inhabited by disciples of the saint that that section is for. The area that used to be inhabited by the disciples of chaos is now inhabited by the unfavored, those without magic. When people in this world reach a certain age, they are tested to see what magic they have and then put into the house, so to speak, of the saint that goes along with that magic to practice their magic and continue the work of that saint. So let me be clear. When the saints lived, each had specific abilities and work, and their disciples continue that in the time of the story. If a disciple has powers that rival the original saint, that disciple is called a reincarnation. The last time there were reincarnations living was 70 years ago, when the reincarnation of both strength and chaos were living. And at that time, the first War of the Saints took place. That war was horrific, and it resulted in Umbrazia being divided into 2. Now, they're involved in the second War of the Saints. Roz is a disciple of patience. She was late to show any abilities, but she is lucky in that those who are disciples have advantages that the unfavored do not. And Roz hates this. This is one of the things she hates about society. If she had her way, then the disciples and the unfavored would all be treated equally with the same rights and opportunities. And so she has joined a group of rebels. Damien and Roz knew each other as children. He has never shown any magic, but his father, a disciple of strength, is a general and has used his influence to have Damien appointed the head of security at the palazzo. Damien was in the war at the north until recently, and this has left him suffering. He is experiencing post-traumatic stress. He has a lot of guilt about those who died and those that he was unable to protect. One of the disciples at the palazzo has now died, and Damien is in charge of finding out what happened. And he believes that the disciple was poisoned. He soon realizes that others have been poisoned with the same poison, but they were unfavored. And so Damien is going to look into all 3 of the deaths. While investigating, he runs into Roz, who is still angry with Damien for abandoning her after her father died. They agree to work together to discover the responsible people. What they don't realize is that the person responsible may be much closer than they thought. Seven Faceless Saints by M.K. Lobb is the first of a duology. The second book, Disciples of Chaos, came out earlier this year. This book has a lot going on. The characters are dealing with the past feelings that they've had for one another and how they're going to be able to work together now. They're also trying to forge a future for themselves that they see as something they want to live. They see the faults in their society, and one is working to correct those faults, while the other is working to be accepted and respected. And the ending definitely sets up the story for the next book. So, on to my meal based on the book. There's not a lot of talk about food in the book. There is not a lot of food in the book. But the book is taking place in a country very similar to Italy. So I was inspired by Mediterranean cuisine, and I got some eggplant and I breaded it and baked that in the oven. I got some tomato bruschetta that I put on top and a little bit of cheese, and it's all on a lovely baguette. So I'm going to enjoy that as soon as we're done with this video. So, on to the books that are similar, and like I've said in the past, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about these similar books. I'm just going to mention them and briefly what they're about. So, I don't have the first one here, but I have a copy of the cover. It's This Savage Song by V.E. Schwab. So, the books I'm going to talk about now give a similar reading experience because they also have morally gray characters. And This Savage Song is the first book of a duology. It is also YA fantasy, and it also has a character who is trying to be accepted and respected by those in her family. Next is Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. And this is a YA fantasy with characters who have done things that they regret, and now they're trying to build a relationship and a friendship. But what has happened, or what is about to happen, just may keep them apart. And for our next book, I'm going to skip ahead and go to The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland. And I'm doing this because the next book that I was supposed to read, I think is going to take longer to read, so I want a book that I can get through more quickly because I'm already late with this video. So reading The Invocations next is going to get us back on track, and then we'll hopefully get back on track with the other book. So this is the book I need to come up with a music playlist to go along with it. And we'll be back quickly next week. I hope that you will join me then, and until then, I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.